Hello, everybody. It's Gary Stuckey with Steve Perry News and Journey News. I'm back, and I'm glad to be back. I'm feeling a lot better. I've been under the weather, but I'm back and ready to talk about Steve. On a podcast with Heather and Maddie recently, Steve said he's been busy working on music and other projects. So I'll be letting you know about that as we hear them. That's exciting to know. I wonder what projects he's talking about. Could be a lot of stuff, right? But we do know that he visited Steve Smith, his former bandmate, a few weeks ago. And that tells me that he's still interested in the guys from the band. And Steve actually has a history with Steve Smith, kicking him out of the band. But there's no hard feelings, right? Ain't that good to know that there's no hard feelings with bandmates, even though recently we know about all the drama and Journey. But we do know that Steve dropped his lawsuit against Neal Schon and Jonathan Cain. And Neal was saying, let's have coffee, so everything may be better, between he and Neal. I do think there's something going on with Jonathan, which brings me to this point. Let me just review, for the past, 5 years I've been doing this channel. I talked a lot about reunions, a lot about secret messages that I see in songs. I talked about the Traces album, of course. Noah Racing is talking about the band Journey. There's clues in there that he's talking about Journey. In the lyrics, he says, I know it's been a long time coming since I saw your face. And of course, that's from the song Something to Hide. It's been a long, long time since I saw your face. Traces in my mind. Of course, he's throwing it back to the Infinity album, his first album with Journey. And I had been throwing Jonathan Cain there in the mix there for different reasons. But I do think that maybe since he was hinting around about all things Infinity and hinting around about patiently, even at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which, by the way, it was 6 years ago this week. And those guys in the background there, they had a good time. And Steve mentioned Neal. There was one guy, his guitar was soaring, and he said, remember Patiently? They wrote that song. The theme seems to be about Infinity. The theme seems to be about going back in time, reliving, being on stage, comparisons to the backseat of the car, that intimate relationship with the audience, things like that. Things I've mentioned before. I'm not trying to repeat myself. But I know that Entertainment Tonight last year was mentioning the fact that there were going to be some guests, maybe, that were going to come back for the 50th anniversary tour for Journey. And we know that Greg Rowley came back in February for a night in Austin. That's his hometown. So we had that. Then there was speculation of Steve Perry. Could Steve Perry come back? I asked Neal Schon over on Twitter a while back. I said, what about Steve? And he said something like, we got to cover one base at a time, or something to that effect, which means he's working on it. He worked on Greg, and there was some kind of controversy. But enough about that drama and all that stuff in the past. I'm just thinking positive things, But Greg came back, so why not Steve? Well, I was thinking back. We know that Steve Perry visited Steve Smith recently, so he has that desire to reach out to his former bandmates. But that happened 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. And to be exact, it was the week before he released his album, his long-awaited Traces album. It was the end of September, I believe, September 29th. He reached out and visited Ringo, and he took a picture with Joe Walsh. Remember that? Well, who's in Ringo's band? There's a guy named Greg Rowley that's in that band. So he was visiting Greg too, so he reached out, visited Greg. And something tells me he enjoyed his time with Greg Raleigh. And something tells me the fact that he's mentioning that album, Infinity, over and over again, it's a theme of Traces. It's the theme hidden in the background of Traces. It's something that I think that Steve really wants to happen. I think that he wants to be on stage again with Neil Schon and Greg Raleigh. That's just my theory. That's my thinking. Please don't get bent out of shape if you don't agree. That's been happening for the past 5 years. And that's cool. I just have fun, doing this. But some California dates on Journey's tour are coming up. They've got like a dozen dates left. And a few of those are in the vicinity of Steve's home. And I think he might just make a little venture. That's just my thinking. He may not. But I think if he's going to do anything with Journey, the 50th anniversary would be it. I think that would be it. And the fact that he mentioned everything about with Traces and all the little hints I've been telling you about for the past 5 years, go back and watch those videos and you'll kind of see things coming together. But that would be my guess. If Steve's going to come back to Journey and do anything, I think it's going to be now. I think it's going to be in California coming up on this tour, 50th anniversary. Let's see what happens. And you let me know what you think. And listen, I have fun doing this, just speculating, but it's fun. And I have hope about different things, I'm just thankful to be feeling better. And by the way, I am now one of the moderators over on Steve Perry's official group page. And my advice is just to hold back on the drama, as in all this Journey thing. Everything, just calm down. And it's going to be okay, but I appreciate everybody watching. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Be sure to subscribe to my other channel, Real Music with Gary Stuckey on YouTube. Thank you so much. Hey, let's see what the future holds. And whatever you do, don't stop believing. God bless you.